Welcome everyone, Questini here with a discussion about Azhag the Slaughterer in Total War Warhammer 3 of the Greenskins. And while Grimgor is certainly the best Greenskin Legendary Lord, Azhag is actually the second best Legendary Lord. It's not Grom, it's not Skarsnik for certain, it's not Warzag. It is good old Azhag, who was one of the initial Legendary Lords released for the Greenskins, sharing the same starting position as Grimgor. But now things have changed very dramatically since Warhammer 3, or they have been changed for a while. But suffice to say, Azhag's campaign is quite a bit different than all the other Greenskins in the game. The reason behind this has to do with partly faction effects and partly his climate situation. So in terms of faction effects, he gets a research benefit, he gets 25% income from sacking settlements, so whenever you're sacking settlements as Azhag, you're just getting flat out more money. You get also a diplomatic relations benefit with the vampire counts and Arc of the Black, and Was have a chance to contain wyverns. Furthermore, when we're considering his effects, he does get Azhag's Wa, and he is actually a hybrid magic melee lord, though you're far better off focusing on the melee side of things because he is quite fairly strong in melee. He's not Grimgor level, but he does have 15% ward save, a lot of armor through his item, a good amount of post-battle loot, and he gets the slashes. So he gets a decent kit of gear that you can use in a campaign. He gets one control in all provinces for all of them, and he gets the bounce spell of the Gaze of Nagash because he is wearing the crown of Nagash. This guy is basically Nagash, or he is rather possessed by Nagash, or Nagash is attempting to possess him. And he is very strong. This is turn 25 of his campaign, and what I have achieved in this campaign is ridiculous. Greenskins can be generally ridiculous in their campaigns, but I would have to say that fighting a war on multiple fronts against some fairly powerful legendary lords like Vlad, Astrogoth, who certainly is fairly powerful, and also taking a war to Frat and Azazel at the same time with your basic army and a Wa. Well, the Wa is eating up a lot of the damage. The Goblin Archers do significant levels of damage, and, well, I could actually upgrade them. But there is absolutely a ridiculous level of power, and you benefit, like, if you want to play a Greenskin Legendary Lord that embodies a lot of the inherent powers of the Greenskins, Azhag is your choice. Grimgor is better, but one of the main reasons, actually the sole reason that Grimgor actually ends up on top is because he can take Zarnagrund very early on in a campaign. You can't quite do it to the same extent as Azhag, though you can surely get very close to it. In fact, these two armies, that's exactly what I'm going to try and do. Gotten a bunch of heroes over here, gotten a bunch of units over here, defeated Astrogoth with them, and now it is time to move on Zarnagrund. The strategy, by the way, to defeat Zarnagrund is pretty simple, just toggle flag of war. There are two armies over here. One starts in Zarnagrund, the other one starts in the Vale of Woe. You go sack the Falls of Doom, the army from Zarnagrund will move in, and then you fall back. The army from Zarnagrund will march to the Falls of Doom, and you defeat it with two armies. Two armies ideally was, though in this case these ones don't have was. The Wa is just about to expire. But that's fine. Though I might want to wait for the Wa cooldown before declaring that war, because if I declare it against Zarnagrund over here, I'll probably get a really, really nice trophy in this particular campaign. I mean, I'm already about to get the Kill the Stunties trophy for minus 20% construction cost and weapon strength. The reason behind that is Ungrim actually ended up faction strength rank 2 over here, and I declared war on him and defeated him, so I'm going to get a significant amount of power. This campaign, there's no particular plan to it because because it depends on how things play out. Like, I had a real opportunity to defeat Ungrim over here very quickly, so I freaking took it. Though, to be fair, defeating Ungrim quickly as Azhag is actually not really that surprising. Let me explain how this works. Ungrim will start marching over here south to Grand Peak. That's where his main army is going to be. So it's going to be pretty far away from Karakadrin. What you can do, you take your main army, you start building a secondary army. That secondary army can then use the underway to get very close to Karakadrin. Then you declare war, you take Karakadrin, you eliminate his Slayer recruitment, and then you either ambush or you bring multiple forces to bear on Ungrim. Here I brought to bear two forces that I then separated to deal with other things, finishing off Draika, which Azhag had ended up in a fight with. And also now picking a fight with Vlad, though really I should probably go save Skarsnik, but then again, it's Skarsnik, who gives a shit. Suffice to say, like, I've made this point in multiple videos that Skarsnik is not even worth confederating. The only time he's worth confederating is if he gets a lot of territory. In this case, he's being wiped out by Thorgrim, and I'm in no rush to freaking save his side. Especially when I can take Drakenhof and eliminate Vlad. Though I haven't fought Vlad, but rather Vlad's been fighting Averheim, and I guess he's at war with Gelt at this point. Actually, no, he's not at war with Gelt. Who is he at war with? Let me just scroll up all the way here. But Vlad's been fighting, he was fighting Averheim earlier, so I knew his main army would be away. He actually ended up at war with Festus, of all people. So I knew his main army was away. I had an army here that took Zofbar, and I was like, should I dare take Castle Drakenhof? It might be really risky, but I did guess correctly. So I have multiple forces converging on Vlad here. I'm recruiting a third force to stop Thorgrim once he finishes Skarsing. Like, this force is not meant to deal with Vlad. It's meant to stop Thorgrim from obliterating Fallen King Mountain once he's finished with Skarsing. Though, he might be delayed for a bit. One thing to understand about Greenskin economies is you can have your economy completely in the red as long as you can pay for the turn you're playing, or multiple turns in this case. That is perfectly fine. As long as you can fight one battle each turn, you're going to be fine. Here, I have certainly been fighting one battle each turn. In fact, I have achieved my short campaign victory condition just now in 25 turns, which is fairly reasonable. Could have been actually a faster pace, but let's talk about Azhag's climate situation, because this is the main strength. You can take the wasteland, you can take the mountains, you can take temperate, and you can take savanna. What this really means from a practical standpoint is that you see it, he starts right next, he starts with the ability of getting this gold mine very quickly in his campaign, and every territory from coast to coast is his for the taking. And you have to go all the way down here until you find territory that's not really suitable, and even then it's not uninhabitable, it's just unpleasant. Sure, you can take the Cast Wasteland, but do you really want to? And there's a lot of potential in this campaign, and you can go in multiple ways. See, some factions do hate you. Obviously, Chaos Dwarves will despise you, for instance, and so will regular dwarves, where regular dwarves are no match for you. What about other factions? Well, Kebie doesn't particularly despise you. That's minus 40 aversion, and shockingly enough, Katrin only also has a minus 40 aversion. So if I'm saying that one of the campaign plans that's available in this campaign is to make best friends with Katrin and have her form your northern border, that is precisely what I'm saying. You give Katrin enough territory, she will hold back the forces of Cass. Kostaltin might be dead against the Azazel over here. I tried to save him, I couldn't quite succeed. But suffice to say, at this point, I am not worried about anything that might keep me coming over here. I might have to build another army to keep Wolfric at bay while trying to consolidate over here. But regardless of all of that, I am in an incredibly strong campaign position over here that I do intend to fully take advantage of in this particular campaign. Like, once I get to a tier 3 settlement over here, I can get stone trolls. I might just get a bunch of those just to throw against the Empire and make Katrin the true Empress. Because you can take the Empire for yourself, and you might want to do so. But you're actually far better off financially and from a faction strength going to the east. You have various choices. You can go west, you can go east, you can go south in this campaign. You just can't go north, but every other direction in this campaign is perfectly available to you. You want to go beat up Grimgor and make him part of your faction? Go do so. You want to do the same with Skarsnik? Go do so. You want to conquer the entire empire and make Nagash the emperor of the known world? Go do so. You want to do all of these things at once? You might do so. A bit slower, because you only have so many armies that you can recruit, but yeah, suffice to say, the potential of this particular campaign is absurd. You're best off trying to take Zarnagrin as quickly as possible, but the reason Grimgor is better is because your short campaign victory conditions, which do matter, because they give you that recruit rank, and also open up the long campaign victory condition. You complete long campaign, you get the endgame crisis, you win the campaign. But your short campaign victory condition do require you to take Ostland, which is a bit awkward. Though holding onto it is not necessary, you just need to have an ally holding it and then achieve success, and then you don't really need to care. Like, Karl Franz is not particularly going to be friendly towards me over here. He actually despises me a great deal. But at the same time, Karl Franz isn't going to start a war with Katrin. Even if it does, I would probably put my money on Katrin, assuming nothing else is coming from the north. So you can deal with all of these things, and in short, Kislev is prosperous. There's a simple way of doing so, like what you can do. Like, you take this initial settlement of Karakungor, then you recruit a bunch of goblins, which is exactly what I did here. You start with tier 1 barracks, you can start transforming it into tier 2. It would be nice to start with tier 2 barracks, but regardless, you start with tier 1 barracks, you recruit a bunch of goblins, you take Fort Chikova. You raise Katrin to it. You take the gold mine over here. You don't build the gold building here. You actually build growth. You want to get the boss pole over here to get as much growth as possible. Then you build a second army. Then second army you populate with nasty skulkers and goblin archers. They'll finish off the ogres over here in Red Eye Mountain, as it should be called. Your main army is taken for Jakova, and then go off selling those to Catherine. You'll get the defensive alliance with this from Catherine. And after that, you can go to war with Ostermark, or what remains of the Ostermark, sell that also to Catherine, or take it for yourself, because you can sell in this climate yourself. If you don't want to go too far west, you can just give it to Catherine, make a military alliance, and have her declare war on Ostland, and she'll probably win, eventually. Though counting on Catherine to win and hold this territory is probably tall order. I would at least defeat Draika in order to ensure success. But what you do after that particular point is really going to be dependent on how you want to play your campaign. Do you want to play a Western campaign, a Southern campaign, an Eastern campaign? Here I focused quite a bit on the West with my main army and some secondary, tertiary armies, but I've also defeated Astrogoth with other armies as well that I've built here. Funny enough, you can confederate, like these Black Orcs that I gained over here was from confederating Greenskins that populate the Blasted Way. So there's some Greenskins that are at war with the Silver Pinnacle initially, and you can easily confederate them, even if you declare war on them. Like what I did, I declared war on them, for the Lamians Sisterhood, declared war on them, got a peace treaty, got the Confederation shortly thereafter, and while I didn't keep a lot, I did get some Black Orcs, I did get Dusty, and I got some Trolls in the process. And yeah, this ends up being a situation where you end up steamrolling on multiple fronts. Grimgor can do this too, just as easily. In fact, quite more easily, because he can take Zarnagru very quickly. But Grimgor does hit kind of a wall. It's not a firm wall. It won't stop him completely, but climate does matter. Climate will slow you down. Whereas Azhag, he may not have the same kind of early game potential that Grimgor has with Zarnagrund. Because Grimgor can take Zarnagrund legitimately. I'm not talking about cheesing your way with nasty skulkers. I'm talking about building 3 fucking stacks very early on in Grimgor's campaign and taking Zarnagrund. Which you can even take at tier 5 if you're lucky enough with that. And once you do, like as Grimgor, you can take the entirety of Darklands, but you'll kind of end up being sandwiched between Cathay and the Empire on each side, right? That's one of the things. Whereas if you're playing Azhag, and this is the nice benefit of it, you look at Azhag's campaign. Grimgor is more powerful than Azhag. He will build one under AI control, so he'll build a stronger empire. He can take the entirety of the Mountains of Morn, and all you need to do to gain control of all of this territory in a campaign as Azhag is defeat Grimgor's army. That sounds hard. Until you bring 2 fucking stacks and just auto-resolve the shit out of it. Because Grimgor might be strong, you're stronger. So all you need to do is defeat Grimgor in a battle and get everything he has. It might take a while, it might take some effort, but you're in this kind of situation where you know Grimgor is always going to build up. And if he struggles, you just let him build up. You don't need to make a military alliance with him of any kind of description. You don't need to make any kind of agreement. You can just help him out, sell him some territory, get a lot of cash in the process, and when you see him, and you see him in a vulnerable position, just smash the shit out of him. You'll lose his own personal army, but you gain his entire fucking empire. That's the power of the Greenskin Confederation mechanic. But only Azhag, and Skarsnik to be fair, but it's kind of a trade-off. I would say only Azhag is in the real position to benefit from it. Why do I say not Skarsnik or Warzag or anything like that? Well, Grom is too far away. Skarsnik can benefit from it, but Azhag typically gets, if played by the AI, typically he gets wiped out between Ungrim and Draika. So if you're playing Azhag, you build a massive empire. And sure, in this case, the dice didn't roll in Skarsnik's favor. He's still alive, I might add. But Skarsnik can build a massive empire. Like, it depends on how the dice rolls, like faction potential, how that rolls. So in this case, Skarsnik is wiped out, right? He still has an army, but he's not going to survive for Ungrim, I think. For Ungrim, rather. So, and Warzag probably isn't going to survive either. So maybe the Southern campaign plan would be the best to embrace very early on. It would delay your campaign victory conditions. Though I'm not too really focused on getting Warzag as quick in a campaign. I mean, he's nice to have, but there's mods or ways even in the vanilla game to get the Legendary Lord. I would say Azhag has the potential because he can take Zarnagrund slower than Grimgor, but he can still do it as part of a natural campaign plan. And then you can just let Grimgor to Grimgor and then conquer all of the territory that Grimgor conquered for you. So by like turn 40 in this campaign, or 60, you can have an empire spanning from coast to coast, and it's not an insane probability. It's actually quite very likely if you play your cards well. And it's just about using the greenskins the way they're meant to be played. Being aggressive, waging war, fighting a Wa, taking advantage of their very high growth, high control, their lack of rebellions. And in fact, it's very difficult to get the rebellion of the greenskins, even on legendary with a -8 difficulty level. And even if you get the rebellion, it's like just the moment, just a couple of turns before it spawns, or 1-2 turns before it spawns, just recruit an emergency army and a bunch of goblin archers and deal with it. No problem. Maybe some regiments right now, and it depends on which race we're talking about, but it's fairly easy to deal with greenskin rebellions. And you end up with a secure batch of territory. You actually end up with allies that you can rely on, like Catherine, maybe even Castalton, depending on how you play your cards right. You can actually ally Vlad if you want to in a campaign, because the benefit of your diplomatic relations situation is that it nullifies the aversion that the vampire counts feel towards you. Now, in this case, I've decided to wage war on Vlad, but you don't have to. That's the thing. You want to hand the entire empire on a silver platter to fucking Vlad? You can do so. Just take Talabayam, give it to Vlad, maybe help, maybe go deal with Reichland for him, and make this unholy alliance between Azhag, Vlad, and Catherine. And it will actually work. It will hold. Depending on how you give them the territory, independent which factions they're at war with. It might come to a crash close, but vampires and Kislev don't necessarily hate each other all that much either. So you can make it work. It's easier if you don't do so, and while it might sound more complicated to make an alliance with the Empire work, as long as you don't share a direct border with them, that can also work. Or if you're constantly fighting the Empire's foes. In this case, I fought Ostland and Ostermark, what remained of the Ostermark once Draco was finished with them. So Karl Franz and Geld aren't going to be particularly friendly towards me, but they're also not going to be so willing to declare war on me either. And they've got other issues to deal with. You can't make a relationship with the Empire work, but you can make one with Vlad and Catherine work. And you can certainly make one with Grimgor work, if that's your thing. And yeah, take all of this territory, and then just betray Grimgor. Play, like, the best playstyle in any campaign is to basically play it as the Skaven. What Scrag has accomplished here is a bit interesting, I have to say, in this particular campaign. Yeah, Empires can be a bit ridiculous at certain times. But certainly Grimgor is doing Grimgor's thing, and it's pretty damn crazy. So that would be all there is to say about Azhag. Just a legendary lord that shouldn't be underestimated. That would be my perspective on him. He plays in a generic style. He's not as good as Grimgor is, but his campaign does work quite very effectively. Modded, unmodded, vanilla, any difficulty from easy to legendary, it's a campaign that works. And it works brilliantly well to allow you to steamroll the map, gain a lot of territory that's suitable, and just end up controlling a vast amount of land, and eventually end up actually with a lot of armies and positive income. That's all I had to say. Costine here signing out. One thing I would mention, by the way, is that's a benefit to Azhag as opposed to others. You actually start with an Orc Shaman, and you get benefits to Orc Shamans. So you get the Insane Visions. Yes, I've chosen to go with the boys over here just because, and the big lads, even though I don't necessarily have too many of them right here, but I will, and eventually. But you do get this benefit of Frenzy for all Orc Big Gun infantry units. You do get hero capacity for Shamans +1, which is always nice to have, and extra recruit rank. You do get an underway benefit, Vanguard deployments for Orcs. Like, you can make an entire Orc army work pretty well in his campaign, and it's crazy. You also have a lot of flexibility on the battlefield because you have a flying mount. So don't underestimate Azhag, because it might end up going pretty poorly for you. But yeah, just starting with the Shaman means you have a lot of magical potential that the others just don't. Because there's nothing quite like the Bigfoot of Gork smashing down an enemy army. Dryka, the only real threats that exist in this campaign are Dryka early on and Vlad, potentially. I say potentially because if you show up with 3 freaking stacks, or 2 stacks in this case, against Vlad, and you defeat his armies one at a time, especially in a siege, which is what I did here, I defeated an entire stack over here in siege, you will end up dominating the map. As long as Vlad doesn't show up over here to raid some territory, and as long as Vlad doesn't show up to 2 armies against one of my own, I'm feeling fairly confident in this situation. Anyway, that's all there is. Costine signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications. If you do enjoy my content, consider supporting me via PayPal or Patreon. Special thanks to Protossx, Kebie, Fingo, JK, Vacre, Alain, Alex, and Simon. And to all of you who make it possible.